My dear friend in Christ, one late evening, a father asked his son to go up to the attic and bring the guitar. And his son rushed up the attic but came down screaming, "Daddy, it's terribly dark up there and I'm scared." The father reassuringly said, "Don't worry, son, God is there." Now the son rushed up again and said, "Hey God, Dad says you are in there. Can you turn on the lights, please? I need the guitar." My dear friend in Christ, in another incident, hostel students were lining up for lunch. The hostel warden put up a signboard near the apple basket. "Please take only one apple. God is watching you." And a naughty little boy, in simple faith, put another signboard. "Take all the cookies from the table because God is watching only the apples." My dear friend in Christ, when our faith translates into a childlike consciousness of God, we begin to feel His presence in good times and in bad. Unfortunately, as we grow into adulthood, there is the possibility of losing this childlike consciousness and restful dependence on God. Cardinal Newman preserved his childlike faith during the dark moments of his life. As a young man, while returning from Italy to England, the boat in which he was traveling got detained in Sicily, Italy. He fell ill and almost at the point of death. But in those moments, he penned one of the most beautiful hymns sung even till this day in churches across the world. And the hymn reads, "Lead, kindly light, amid the encircling gloom. Lead thou me on. The night is dark, and I am far from home. Lead thou me on. Keep thou my feet. I do not ask to see the distant scene. One step enough for me." My dear friend in Christ, God watches over us all the time. Those with deep faith can experience this through the thick and thin of life. Just imagine, Jesus was fast asleep in a boat that was being tossed by a storm. The disciples had to wake him up saying, "Teacher, don't you care that we are perishing?" Mark chapter 4 verse 38. And Jesus questioned their little faith, for they did not believe that God's presence was with them. There's a beautiful picture of a little child in a boat rocked by waves on the sea, which has a beautiful caption to it. "I can sleep in a storm because my God is awake. I can sleep in a storm because my God is awake." It is easier to sleep well when you know that God is watching over you. Look at the psalmist. The psalmist, speaking of God's love for his people, says in Psalm 121 verse 4, "Our God never slumbers or sleeps." Our God never slumbers or sleeps. God makes His presence felt in different ways. We need to tune our hearts and minds to feel His presence. My dear friend in Christ, God can speak to us in our joys and in our sorrows. When Prophet Elijah found it difficult to feel the presence of God, the Lord said, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. The first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 11 to 12. So, my dear friend in Christ, have a restful surrender to the Lord, for our God never slumbers or sleeps. Have a good and godly day.